In this last section of Homework 9, we're going to look at simple interest. Interest is money that you gain if you've invested money or saved it, and it is money that you pay if you've taken out a loan. You have to pay back more than you borrowed. The formula for simple interest is I, the interest, plus P, the principal, times R, the annual rate, times T, the number of years. So I is the interest, P is the principal, which is another way of saying original amount, or your starting amount. R is the annual rate, and you need to write it as a decimal. So if it's given in a percent, you need to convert it to a decimal. And T is the time in years. Because the rate is given as an annual rate, you need the time in years. Now, if you take the original amount and add it to the interest, you get your final amount. So that's the same, P plus PRT. So you can find the final amount. By adding them. Some problems will ask you just for the interest, and some will ask you for the final amount. So let's look at an example. A person invests $900 at 3% simple interest for 1.5 years. Find the interest. Let's call that A. Find the final amount. In other words, how much money will they have at the end of the 1.5 years? So their interest is going to be their principal, which is $900, times the rate, which is 0.03, times the number of years, which is 1.5 years. So I'm going to put that in my calculator. 900 times 0.03 times 1.5, and I get 40.5. So what's the amount that I'm going to end up with? 900 plus 40.5, which is 940.5. So notice I used this formula, the principal plus the interest, which I had found previously, but you could have done it all at once. You could have just said 900 plus 900 times 0.03 times 1.05. So my answer is going to be the amount of interest earned was $40.50, and the amount of money the person had at the end of the 1.5 years is $940.50. Okay, let's do another example of that. A $2,500 loan for 15 months has a simple interest annual rate of 8%. A, find the interest paid, and B, find the total payback amount. So really, the two problems are the same because you could be the person doing the loaning, that's how you invest, or you could be the person borrowing. So it works both ways. In this previous problem, if I was loaning you the money, then I would be earning $40.50 for loaning you the money, and at the end you would have to pay me back the $940.50. I would be the person investing, but it would work the other way. So they work both ways. Just perspective. Which one are you? Okay, first of all, we have a little bit of a problem here because we have months, and we can't have months. We've got to have years. So how many months are in a year? 12. So we've got 15 months. There's 12 months in a year. So we have to divide by 12 in order to find out that that is 1.25 years. Okay. Now we're ready to put it into the formula. I equals P RT. So the principal amount, 2,500 or 2,500, times the rate. Whoops, the rate's not 1.25. The rate is what? 0.08. And we've got to move the decimal place 2 places. The T is the 1.25. Really, since multiplication is commutative, I would have still gotten the right answer if I'd put them in the wrong order. But I want to be clear on which values were which. So I put these in, I get $250. So what's the amount to be paid back? 2,500 plus 250, which is 2,750. So A, the amount of interest paid, is $250. If I'm paying it to you, then that's the amount of interest that you earned if I loaned the money from you, borrowed the money from you. And the amount I would have to pay you back would be $2,750. So I paid $250 in interest for the privilege of the loan, and the person who loaned it to me gained $250 for loaning me the money. Okay, so the way this works is I have a formula here that has how many variables? It has 4 variables. 4 things that can change. Remember, that's all variables are. So if we know any 3 of these, we can find the other one. So let's do an example of that. Let's suppose I invest $600 at a simple interest annual rate of 5%. How long must I leave it until I have $700? Okay, so how much interest am I talking about here? Talking about 700 minus 600, talking about $100 in interest. So that would be my I. My I equals PRT. So I have $100. I put my $600 in. The rate is 0.05. Remember, you have to change it to a decimal. Uh-oh, the thing I don't know in this case is the T. So let's multiply 600 times 0.05 to get 30. So 100 equals 30T. So how am I going to figure out T? I'm going to divide both sides by 30. And T is going to come out to be 10/3, which is what? 3 1/3 years? So it would take 3 1/3 years if I were to invest $600, a rate of simple interest of 5%. Take 3 1/3 years for me to get $700. If you would like, you could change that third of a year, because 1/3 of a year, how much is a year? 12 months. So that would be the same as what? 4 months. So 3 years and 4 months. 3 years, 4 months it would take. And this would work similarly if you were missing one of the other things. So I was missing T. Those are typically the things you have to figure out, are the I and the T. Sometimes you might ask, how much do I need to invest in order to end up with that? Especially if you're doing long-term investments like retirement plans or insurance, life insurance plans. The R you would typically know, but if you didn't, you could solve for it as well. Okay, so that is the end of homework 9.